Hey guys, Kian here, and I finally managed to get the animation log for Shenmue printed out. What happened is I was trying to edit the source code of Raycast to print out logs whenever Rio would enter the walk animation, and it wouldn't work. So I tried sending an email to SKMP, the author of Raycast, and he was very gracious and suggested that I put the emulator in interpret mode. And as soon as I did, it worked. So huge thank you to SKMP for helping me with that. So now that we have so what I did was added a small, uh, just a few, actually three or five lines of code, just a very small amount of code to say when the game is reading from inside the animation, inside the memory, just tell me where is it being read and how many bytes are being read, and just throw that to a log file. And then I just do 10. I had Rio stand, and then I had him walk for 10 repeats of the walk animation, and then I stopped, and that's what this log is. So we can kind of see is if we go to the top here, there's stuff that Raycast prints out to the uh, console for debugging, and then once I started walking, we have just a huge continuous stretch of my log file. So we can see at the top, it's reading 2 bytes. It starts at 0, 2, and then 0, and then 0, 2 again, and then 4, 8, 8, and stuff like that. So it's just reading through the header and getting the offsets for where the different blocks are. From there, we can see it goes to 0x0c, and so it's gonna. I guess it's reading that twice because it's masking it. It might read it once, mask it, get the bone ID, read it another time to get the bit flags. I don't, not super concerned about that. And then from there, we can see it jumps to 0x36, which is the first byte in block 2. And then from there, it jumps down to block 4 at 0x135 and reads 00. 0. And then the next one is kind of more interesting because uh, the the first instruction here will have the node ID for bone 0, and then I'll have bit flags for position XYZ and rotation XYZ. So for each bit flag, it's going to read one value from block 2. So boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And each of these block 2 values is just going to be in order 0, C, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then depending on the value being read, it's going to read a different number of bytes from block 4. So since all these are 0, it looks like it reads 1 byte from block 4 and stops. And then in the other case of C, it reads for like 4 bytes and then reads 0F and then stops. And then the next one after that will read 00 here, and then 00 will be read from here. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on, why it's doing that. What the relationship is, but it's just really it's nice to be able to say, okay, the instruction reads block 2 and then reads block 4, and then you can kind of see that at least get the relationship that the C corresponds to here. I thought that the C might correspond to the number of values in block 3. That ended up not being the case. You can very clearly say that depending on the values being read here, or the value being read in block 2 depends on how many values are going to be read in block 4. So what's kind of interesting is it goes bing, and then it reads 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, and then it goes to the next instruction. So we're back at E again. So I thought originally what I thought it would read the instruction, it would go here, it would do some stuff, and then it would go to the keyframe value. But that's not what's happening at all. It goes we go E, so we go to the next instruction, then we bounce between blocks 2 and 4, 2 and 4, 2 and 4 for the 3, because this should just be hip rotation, and so we get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 bytes in block 2, and then it just reads 1, 2, 3 bytes in block 4, and that's it. So kind of crazy. And then it does it again. It goes up to 1, 0, 1, 2, 1, 1, 4, 1, 6, and it just keeps going on from there. And each one of these does the same thing. Reads an instruction, reads from block 2, reads from block 4, and then just continues on. And we can kind of go to the end, and 032 is the last instruction before it stops at 00. Uh, and so 3, 2, we do the same thing, and this will stop at 19E. So it um, starts at 7, 2, so 7, 2, 7, 3, 7, 4, and then uh, 19, 19C, 19D, 19E. So I mean, it's just kind of crazy. So we get we get that it reads each instruction, it reads all the bytes from block 2, and then it cycles through uh, all the values in block 4. We're at the end now. We've read all the instructions, we've read all of block 2, we've read all of block 4, which is nice to kind of see how that works. And so once we do one loop through all of the instructions, then the game actually goes back and starts reading key values. So this is just kind of bonkers. I was kind of looking at this through the code that Lemon Haze translated, and it was just too much to try and trace through. To really follow and get an idea of what's going on. So here you can just kind of be lazy and just say, okay, well, it's crazy. It starts at block 3, and it just bounces between block 3, block 4, 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 until it finds whatever it is it was looking for, and then all of a sudden it jumps down to block 5, and then magically reads the keyframe values. And so this is 1d6, 1d6, so it's reading 1d6, 1d8, 1da, 1dc, 1de. At first when I saw this, I thought, okay, well, great, we've got 6 values. So the bone 0 has bit flags for position XYZ and has bit flags for rotation XYZ. So I thought, this is position XYZ, this is rotation XYZ. But when I went through manually, this area here is all I just had root bone position, and it wasn't until a little bit after that that I found the root bone rotation. And that's looking at the next set of key values. So this is going to be, so that's, bone 0 is red or whatever. Then it goes on to the next one, and just says it reads 1 byte from block 3, 2 bytes from block 4, and then it reads 6 bytes again, or 6 different keyframe values from block 5 again. And that's insane, because I thought that because this one had position rotation, that makes sense that it would read 6 values. But after that, it's reading 6 values again, and 6 values again, and 6 values again, and 6 values, or whatever, four values, 5 values, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is completely going against my expectation, because I just thought it would read XYZ, XY. It would have 6 for the first one and then just 3 for the rest after that. But instead, I'm getting like 6, 6, 6, 4, 6, 4. And so I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm not sure if it reads XYZ for this frame and then it reads ahead for XYZ for the next frame, so it knows what to interpolate to, which would kind of make sense. Or if there's something else going on, like it's reading XX or YY or ZZ or something. I kind of doubt that would be the case. I think it's XYZ and XYZ, or at least that's kind of what I saw before when I went through manually and kind of blocked everything out. But this is still a surprise. But we can what's kind of nice about this is it reads 2 bytes at 000, and then it starts reading the keyframe values. So we can go through and just we'll just trace through. Okay, so what happens is this goes 1D around, so it's around here, and then the values start going up. So 1F, 1D, 1F, 2, 200, 3, 0, 3, 0, 3, 0, 3, 0, and we can just keep going, and it should, we're up to 4, we're up to 6, we're up to 6, we're getting closer. 6, 6, goes back to 4 again, back to 4 again, back to 4, and 5, 5, 5. We're still pretty high numbers. 5, 8, 5A, 5C, 5C, and then we're 0, 0, 0 again. So that's it. We're done with the frame. So that was frame 1. And what we kind of do is for each node idea, it's kind of reading here, 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 and then it gets to the end and it kind of goes back and says, okay, here, 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 here. Okay, I'm done with the frame. Move on. So here we have bone 0 again, and it's reading the exact same values as it was in the first frame. So this is going to be frame 1, and before above would be frame 0. And so I'm gonna try to remember this 1150. So we're gonna go back and jump up. So we can copy this and go back up again. And what's kind of interesting here is we start 007575, and we've got the same values here. So this is the root bone position, and we actually read the exact same values for the position. So this is also super nutter butter. So this is frame 0 over here, and it's bouncing between it's starting with the same address and reading 135 at the start, but then after that, like, it almost immediately jumps to the keyframe values on the second frame, versus the first frame. It just bounces between block 2, 3, and 4 like crazy before reading the frames, and we have the exact same values. So I don't know if, like I said, if it's reading these values, or it's reading these values for frame 0 and then it's reading these values for frame 1 and then interpolating between these. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but we can 1150. Good, I remembered. So we can actually trace through and just do the same thing again. So we can just kind of skim through, keep an eye on some of the addresses, and actually we can just because we know that when it reads from 0 that it's going to be the end of the frame, we can just kind of jump down and skip to it. And 2 bytes here. So here we go. Read this stuff. It's reading from 7D last frame. It's reading from 7F this frame, 383980, and then we finally have a different set of values. So it's reading from D 1D8 in the previous frame, and then now it's reading from 1E2 in this frame. So we've got frame 2, frame 1, and basically what's nice is we can just loop through and we could almost just like parse this manually, which generally ends up happening for the first animation you do. You just kind of have to build the table manually. And so yeah, it was just kind of super interesting how it starts at the same file. It reads 135, but then it knows to go to 7D, 7E, and this is 80. So it's just going in order before jumping to the bytes. So it could just be that if we know where it needs to be, like it needs to be at 70, or if we know where it starts at 70, and then it just goes one frame at a time, then we might be able to just skip to that value and look it up and read it. Otherwise, but how it's still pretty crazy how it's getting from this address and just suddenly jumping to where it needs to be in the file. But yeah, that's it for what is it? 80 23. That seriously, because we're at 220 was a 1 year 20 is the previous one, and we're at 23. Like it honestly seriously looks like an index or something that like you just multiply by some value and then it jumps down, or you do some kind of magic thing to it and it tells you if this is the last thing you read before it jumps to the keyframe value, then it could just be you get this value and then you interpret it as a index for where to jump to in the list of keyframes. But either way, doing this is really simple because it gives you a very clear indication of where the game is jumping around to, and you can kind of use it and plug it into. And you can see that for before it started getting into the keyframes, it was reading index block 2, block 4. Once it's in the keyframes, it's reading block 3, block 4, and then keyframes. It's not reading for sequential frames. It's not reading from blocks 1 or 2, which is again also really interesting. But that's it. I've kind of rambled on for too much, but this is just a great way to see trace through what the game is doing and get a very clear indication of, okay, this is frame 0, this is frame 1, this is frame 2. These are what all the values are being read for each of the node IDs, and then these are specific values that you can check against when parsing to make sure you're on the right track. So that's it from me. I'm pretty excited to dig into this some more and try to uncover more of what the game's doing internally, and try to build a list of tables to see if we can start parsing the animations fully. But for now, this is the end of the video. It's been kind of rambly. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.